gonna squeak that straw into the microphone the entire podcast? Is that? Stop. Damn it. If I had headphones, that'd be 10 times more annoying. I can't imagine what the listeners are dealing with. Hey, everybody, it's Camera Academy from Cameta Camera. Starring, if you want to call it that, myself, Nick, and Nikolai over here.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? Today on Camera Academy, we're going to be talking about shutter speed.
Yes, one of the three main things you need for an exposure.
That's right. The magical triforce of photography, the exposure triangle, as you will, is shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. And today we're going to talk about shutter speed, which of course is very important. It has lots of ramifications for your photography and can greatly impact your photography experience as well as your final images. So, do you want to get right into it, or do you want to talk about religion and politics first?
No, we should skip those two.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It's interesting.
That's fantastic.
I love talking about religion and politics.
Let's not do that.
It's 2017. These things are important.
That. Leave it for Facebook.
Fine.
And, threads that go on for comments and comments and comments about people that don't know what they're talking about.
We love the internet, don't we?
Yes.
All right. So, based on that little tidbit, you don't know what side of the aisle we fall on. So you either love us or don't, but whatever. It's shutter speed, guys, and we're going to talk about shutter speed right now, starting with the actual mechanical device known as a shutter.
Built into your camera.
That's right. So, Nikolai, what is a shutter and what does it do?
Basically, a shutter is, if you could use your imagination. Imagine.
Wait a minute. Let me get into my SpongeBob voice.
Imagination.
Well, basically, the shutter is a little mechanism inside your camera body that lets light hit your sensor. So think of it as like a little curtain.
Like an actual window shade.
Yes, like a little window shade. When you click the shutter button, it opens up, and then it closes down, depending on how long you set your shutter speed for, which can be adjusted in fractions of a second.
Yeah, your shutter speed is going to be super fast most of the time, relatively speaking.
Yes.
Yeah. Shutter speeds are measured from the fastest, which is generally around 1/8,000th of a second, and all the way to the slowest shutter speed on your camera, which is typically 30 seconds. Yeah, and there are a million little stops in between. But there are different uses for fast shutter speeds and slow shutter speeds. So let's start with what you would use a fast shutter speed for.
Well, fast shutter speeds are mainly going to be used when you're handheld.
Right.
Because that's going to eliminate camera shake.
Right. So if you are holding the camera with your hands, not on a tripod, you're going to want a faster shutter speed, starting somewhere around 1/125th of a second, so that you can compensate for the motion that is inherent in being a human being.
Yes.
No person can stand as still as a tripod, so you're going to want a faster shutter speed so you don't have any motion blur caused by your shaky hands.
Yes, so the faster shutter speeds are mainly going to be used, handheld.
Right.
And as far as subjects, you're going to be mainly using that for like sports, like if you're trying to photograph like a football game or a baseball game or something like that where everyone's moving around. If you're a parent, photographing your kids.
Yeah, that's me.
Trying to get candid pictures outside, pets.
I was going to say, yeah, those are the situations where I typically use a fast shutter speed, is when my kids are running around. As we record this, it was just Halloween, and the kids were running back and forth from house to house like maniacs.
Oh my God, candy, Daddy, I want candy.
And they had already had some candy, so they were going extra fast.
Give me more.
And a fast shutter speed was definitely helpful there. And when I'm taking pictures of my pets, I have chickens. I know it's kind of an odd choice, but not everyone likes dogs. I happen to like chickens. And they move around a lot. Their heads are always bobbing back and forth. So, yeah, exactly. You're not seeing this, everybody, but he's doing the bob.
Chicken.
Yeah. Anyway, so, when you're capturing pictures of pets, fast-moving things, cars, other vehicles, sports, nature photography for sure. Those are all situations where you want to have a nice, fast shutter speed.
Yes.
What about a slow shutter speed? What would you use that for? Not as many situations, of
No,
course,
not as
but-
many situations. Those are mainly going to be used for like landscape kind of things.
Okay.
And if you want to give and see an actual sense of motion.
All right. So landscapes typically you would use when it's getting dim or when it's dark out. So if it's
Or you want to use a small opened aperture.
yes. But typically you use a slow shutter speed because you need a lot of time to let in more light. So you would be using this in situations where you don't have much light, where it's maybe sunset, or it's that last little bit of sunlight that's just peeking over the horizon.
The golden hour.
You want to get that golden hour light, which is so desirable. And or if you're shooting in the dead of night and
Yes,
you really want to...
astrophotography.
Yep, you could do astrophotography, or if you're trying to get a shot of maybe like a cityscape, something so you can see the entire city, or a skyline where you don't have a lot of available light, that's when you would use a slow shutter speed. Or you could even use bulb mode, which allows you to hold the shutter speed open as long as you have the shutter pressed. And of course, for that, you would want to use a remote.
Yes, and a tripod. Did you
Yes.
mention tripod?
Well, we should mention tripods, that if you are using a slow shutter speed, anything less than 1/60th of a second, it's advisable, if not, damn near...
Impossible.
Impossible to... Well, I was going to say it's... advisable, if not imperative, that you use a tripod.
There you go.
Because advisable and impossible are like two different things. Derp, 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 derp.
This is why we're not professionals. Derp to derp.
Well, we're trying. We're getting
Yes.
there. With every take, it gets a little bit better.
Yes, but anyway, slow shutter speeds. Creative effects that you'd be able to do with that is like those really cool pictures that you see of like a stream or like a waterfall where the water looks like completely smooth, almost like it's like fog or like a mist.
Yeah.
The cityscape shots where you don't see really any cars or people on the streets, you just see like blurs of light.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two major ones I can think off the top of my head.
Well, we had used this example in another episode where if you're shooting a waterfall, for example, the difference between shutter speeds, if you're shooting that at a really fast shutter speed, all of that water that's falling off the top of the waterfall is going to be really sharp. You're going to see all the little separate drops and blobs of water. It's going to look as though it's frozen in time. When you're using a slow shutter speed, that water is going to have a completely different aesthetic. It's going to look really beautiful, like a beautiful flowing kind of imagery. It's going to look, and either way, you're going to get an effect that you can't catch with the naked eye.
Yeah, so we actually didn't even mention the creative things you could do with the faster shutter speeds. So just like you said, you're basically, if you get it fast enough, you're basically going to be able to freeze whatever you're seeing. So if someone's jumping, off of like a platform or something like that, if you catch them in the right pose, it looks like they're like floating in midair.
Yes.
Again, with the raindrops, you can have it like, you can just see every little raindrop if you have it in the right focal plane, and like you can have like someone in the background that's like blurry, and it's just like, it has a really cool effect to it.
One thing
just like
that
you clicked a button and just froze everything.
Yeah. One thing I did this summer, I was taking a lot of pictures one day of my kids jumping in the pool, and using a fast shutter speed, and a fast frame rate, I was able to get a lot of really cool pictures of them with the water basically splashing up around them and enveloping them at the same time when they do a cannonball.
Yeah.
So it's like this big wall of water that had come up around them with, big blobs of water just sort of circling around them. It's a really cool effect, and something that you can't get if you can't see that with the naked eye. You can't really get that in video. It's something that you can only do with a really fast shutter speed.
That, and also like, you ever see like the picture, well, again, going back to like animals with the dogs and stuff, like when they're shaking left and right.
Yeah.
And you can freeze that, or when they're like mid sneeze.
When a wet animal is trying to dry itself off.
Yes.
Two of the coolest things to do is to capture that with a really fast shutter speed, or with a slow motion video.
Yeah.
And then you see that another thing I really enjoy is when people are riding a motorcycle or something, or if we bring it back to dogs, if they've got their head out the window and you can capture their jowls like flapping in the wind, that's a really cool thing too. So yeah, there's lots of different applications, not just dogs. Although dogs are great subjects.
I like dogs.
Even though
just like you like chickens.
Yeah, chickens don't have really jowls or anything.
Yeah.
But occasionally they start flapping across the yard, and I've used a fast shutter speed to catch them mid-flight.
So cool.
Even though they can't really fly.
They try.
They do try, but I feed my chickens too much. They can't even make it over the fence.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Are you plumping them up for something?
They eat a lot of leftovers, and no, we don't speak of such things.
No?
No. They have names, Nick.
No chicken dinner?
They have names. I can't possibly. I could not possibly. Anyway, so we've talked about creative uses and practical uses for a fast shutter speed or a slow shutter speed. Now, we can also use, we should also talk about shutter speed as it pertains to flash photography. Flashes typically have a range of usable shutter speeds somewhere from 1/100th of a second to 1/250th of a second.
And that's practical.
Yeah. Any higher than that, you start to have issues with your camera syncing with the flash. And any lower than that, it's kind of pointless.
And a lot of cameras now, they won't even let you go past that.
Right. So you're sort of limited to those shutter speeds when you're using a flash. But the practical purpose there, of course, is to not only compensate for low light, but to freeze your subject or a moment in time. And you can accomplish that with a flash because it basically requires you to use a faster shutter speed.
Yeah, and there are creative things you can do with, if you're in manual mode, you can use a slow shutter speed coupled with a flash, and you will get some pretty cool like motion effects and stuff like that. But that's a little advanced right now, so we'll maybe cover that in another episode.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of cool flash techniques, and shutter speed plays a major part in that. Now, speaking of shutter speeds, one thing we didn't mention is where you're going to be able to see that on your camera and how it's expressed. Shutter speeds are usually shown as fractions of a second, and possibly we mentioned that at the top of the episode. We didn't really get too into it.
We didn't touch on it, but we mentioned it.
When it's shown on your camera, most of the time it's going to be expressed as a single number.
Yeah.
On the LCD screen, you may see it as 1/60 or 1/125. But if you're looking at a little old-time monochrome LCD monitor on the top of your camera, which a lot of DSLRs especially come with, you're going to notice those expressed as single digits, not single digits, but whole numbers.
Yeah.
So shutter speed of 1/250th of a second will be displayed as
just 250.
A shutter speed that is 30 seconds, to use it as an example, would be 30 and then a little quotes after it.
Yes.
So 30 seconds. And then you will be able to see those in your viewfinder. You'll be able to see it on your LCD panel on the top of your camera and also on your LCD screen on the back if you're shooting in live view mode.
Live view.
So we've discussed basically what your shutter is, what you can use it for, in what situations, different applications. The other thing we should talk about is shutter priority mode. Which is a very useful way to start practicing your, and not only practicing, but it's also useful in everyday applications. I personally find shutter priority mode very useful when I'm in those situations where I want to capture something in time and I don't have the time to set up a manual exposure. I don't have time for all that. All I want to do is take the camera out and capture this moment in time because it's going to pass me by in a few seconds. So shutter priority mode is usually, if you look at the dial on the top of your camera, it will be shown as an S, or in the case of Canon products, for some reason, TV, which stands for time value.
They always have to be different.
And what that'll do when you set that mode, you have control, manual control over the shutter time, the shutter speed, but your camera will automatically take care of the aperture and the ISO.
Well,
although you can,
side note,
you can set it to have manual control of ISO as well,
yes,
if you wish.
I think if you default go on any camera, the ISO is going to be set to like 400 or 800 or something like that, but you should be able to put that in an automatic ISO mode as well. You just might have to drill down in your menu a little bit to find that.
Right. But in any case, when you do that, you will be able to shoot at the shutter speed that you want, and your camera will handle the rest of the exposure issues. So you can know that you'll have a properly exposed image no matter what shutter speed you're shooting at, within limits.
Yeah.
You can't shoot in the dark and expect to have an exposed image.
Yes, if you have it like set on like 1/25th of a second and you're trying to shoot something dark, or the camera knows that, it's because it's got an internal meter, that the image is not going to come out right, sometimes your camera will not let you take the picture. It'll start blinking or something like that, or it will give you some kind of warning saying,
you can't tell me what to do.
Exactly. It's going to be like, hey,
what if I want a dark picture? Huh?
It's going to limit you. The camera's going to basically kind of tell you in its own way that I can't take this picture. This is not a properly exposed image. It'll either block you from doing it, or it'll give you some kind of warning.
I don't like cameras that stick their opinions in my face.
Well, that's why you would go into manual mode then.
Oh.
Or
manual mode.
You should also mention your other favorite mode you like to use that is like shutter priority.
Yes. A lot of cameras these days come with a sport mode or an action mode, and it's usually denoted by a little running man on either your dial. Sometimes it's actually, if you're lucky enough, they'll put it on the dial on the top of your camera, or if not, it'll be in one of your easily accessible menus. But sport mode basically does the same thing as shutter priority, except it also ups your frame rate. So it'll put your camera into a high-speed continuous shooting mode. So for example, I have a Sony a6000. When I put it to sport mode, it basically shoots at, I don't know, 1/400th of a second, somewhere around there.
Right.
1/600th, if I've got the numbers right, or 640, right? 1/640th of a second. I think that's right.
I don't know. You're the Sony guy.
I don't know. There's so many shutter speeds. It's tough to remember them all. Yeah, 640. See, I'm looking at it right there. I was right for once. I can't believe it. And basically, what it does is lets you just fire away and know that you're going to have a fast shutter speed, and you're going to have lots of images to choose from. So it makes it really easy to shoot sports, as the icon suggests, or any other fast-moving subject. So I really like that mode, especially when I'm on vacation or something like that, and I want to capture a moment in time. Like I said, with kids, or with pets, or with any other sort of fleeting subjects, it's tough to capture that stuff when it happens. So sport mode is a real nice thing to have.
All right.
And that being said, that's shutter speed, everybody.
Is it?
Yes, I'm going to go with yes. That's all we can say about shutter speed at this particular given moment. But hopefully that was enough to make a difference in your photographic life. Hopefully you've learned something by listening to Camera Academy today. And if you have any feedback for us, if you want to say we're doing a great job, or say that the show is horrendous and it's not worth your time, either way, or if you have something in between that you want to say to us, we'd love to hear it. We're available on a number of platforms, including Twitter,
YouTube,
Facebook. We should actually say what those handles are. On Twitter, we're at Cameta. Facebook, we're facebook.com/Cameta Camera.
YouTube, we are Cameta Camera.
Yep. Instagram, we're Cameta Camera. And you can just email us, of course, if you want. social@cameta.com. And we look forward to hearing any and all feedback, ideas, suggestions, questions, what have you.
And you can download this where?
Oh, yeah. If you want to subscribe to this, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, or Stitcher, all of those platforms. We have this show available. And, of course, if you have our show, subscribe. Click on the 5-star thingamajig. Give us some likes. Give us some shares. Spread the word. Spread the good word. If you know any other people who are into photography but, aren't professionals or seasoned vets, send them the show. Let them know that, hey, here's a moderately entertaining and possibly informational show that you should give a listen to.
I was about to say, I don't think professional photographers would really...
No. There's no... the pros will laugh us out of the room.
Yes. Those are the ones that'll be giving us the...
They're like, I already know this. This is a waste of my time.
Yep, those will be in the comments for sure.
Yeah. But, assuming that you understand that this is a photography 101 type show. Hopefully you enjoyed it, learned something, and you'll be able to go forward and apply these lessons and this knowledge to your photographic life, and you'll be able to take advantage of it. I'm dying.
That was one long freaking breath.
I was trying to get through that sentence before I started hacking.
And then just choking on your own spit.
Take it away, Nick.
All right, so that's the end of this episode. So we technically don't have a interesting outro yet, and we've been trying to brainstorm.
Technically, no, we definitely don't.
Yeah, no, it's pretty boring. It's like, oh, see you guys later. That's boring. We need something.
We'll be glad to take any suggestions. I was personally going for so long, suckers, kind of like an old Bugs Bunny kind of thing.
Yeah, but you don't want to call your audience suckers.
No, I mean,
we're not like Howard Stern or like anyone like that. So.
No, we're nowhere near that successful. But yeah, hey, if you have any ideas, we'd love to hear it. But in the meantime,
see you later. Catch you next time.
All right. See you next time on Camera Academy. Bye.
Bye-bye.